They're making teenage girls fence biological males now. We're going to break down this and all your other woke horror stories, personal life experiences, and questions that you guys have for me in today's Voicemail Friday episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where we take on the craziest ideas from across the internet, our media, and our politics, all from an independent perspective. On Fridays, I take your voicemails and I hear about the crazy things that have happened in your life and give you my thoughts and my advice. If you want to send one in, the link is, as always, in the description of today's episode. Now, up first, we're going to hear from a young woman who is in a bizarre situation because of extreme gender activism and the tearing down of the basic sex separation in sports that we've witnessed in recent years. Let's listen to her message about what she encountered as a teenage woman who competes in fencing.
Hi, Brad. My name is Mercy, and I recently came across your channel since I like YouTubers like Blair White and Clarkson and that whole little niche corner of the internet. Today, I really want to talk about transgenders in sports. I'm a high school fencer, which is essentially sword fighting. It's a very physical sport. It relies on wingspan, height, and speed. And biological men have an advantage in those areas. Over the winter, during the season, I had to fence a biological man who called himself Lily and called himself a woman. I think it's very unfair and very unsafe that I have to fence this person. When I brought it up to my team and I brought it up to my coach and my captain, I was shut down, I was called transphobic, I was basically shunned away by my team for having this opinion. It's not an opinion, it's a fact, it is unsafe, and it is unfair. I want to know what you would do if you were in my situation and how you would handle it. I know you've done sports like soccer and, that's a passion of yours. Fencing is a passion of mine. I want to continue doing my passion, but I want to continue doing it safely. I think you're very well spoken, I think you're very educated, and I really need your help with this. Thank you so much, Brad, for giving me and others the opportunity to share our stories.
Of course, and thank you so much for your message and for sharing your story. What a wild world we live in where this is even a thing. First, I'll say this, though. It's really disappointing and not okay how your teammates and your coach responded to this. You're not crazy. You are not bigoted for acknowledging the reality of biology and the role that it plays in sports. You should, of course, be respectful and polite of anybody that you meet who is transgender, anybody in your school, from a person from another school. Let them live their life in peace. But biology exists. Biology is real, and the differences do not go away just because you declare yourself transgender. Especially, the differences in terms of athletic performance are reduced somewhat by multiple years of hormone therapy. But one, some trans people don't do that. And two, even then, there are still significant differences that exist. And more importantly, sports are separated by biology, by sex, for a reason. And women's sports are supposed to be for females. This individual who you were forced to compete against could just as easily continue to compete in the male division. And nobody would have a problem with that. They can still, identify how they like, live their life how they please, but they wouldn't be forcing themselves into a division that isn't for them. And yes, jeopardizing young girls' right to a fair and safe competitive environment, which is the whole reason women's sports exist as a distinct category, and everything isn't just co-ed. So it is very unfair. You are not crazy, and shame on your teammates for acting like you are. Most of the country agrees with you on this. Left, right, center. You are not the crazy one. They are, first of all. Now, the question of how to handle this if it happens again is interesting. I did see a news story. I believe I covered it on the podcast, actually, about a young woman who refused to fence a biologically male opponent and was disqualified as a result. I would say if you want to stand on principle, you can do that. And it might make a scene, it might cause a big fuss, but so be it. If you really want to stand up for your belief, that's probably what I would do, but that's because I've always been kind of a shit stirrer and I've always enjoyed controversy. If you're not that type of person and you don't want to do that, that's fine. I mean, you can just keep it to yourself, complain about it. I don't know. That's kind of a personal decision. I can't really tell you what to do because if you do decide to take a stand, I can promise you there will be lots of backlash and social repercussions. So it's really up to you whether it's worth it to you, whether you want to pick this hill to die on, whether you want to stir up controversy. I know I personally would because I would stand up for what I think is right and I would welcome the backlash. But not everybody's built like that. You got to be a little deranged, a little delulu in the head to like that. And I always have been, but maybe you're not like that, and that's okay. So I'm sorry you're even put. Honestly, I view this as a failure of adults that set these policies and these rules and lawmakers and politicians that you're even put in this position. You shouldn't be. And so yeah, I'm sorry to hear that it worked out like this, and I'm sure that you'll decide what's right for you in terms of how you should handle it and how you should go about it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Remember, guys, you can always listen to the Bread versus Everyone podcast on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or really wherever you listen to podcasts. And do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Remember, sending your voicemails in is always an option at the link in the description. Up next, we're going to hear another horror story about woke boyfriends. Guys, stop dating woke men. It doesn't go well. Let's listen to this.
Hey, Brad. Love the show. Watch it every week. I wanted to talk about my boyfriend. Well, my ex-boyfriend. We started dating toward the beginning of the pandemic, and he's really lefty progressive. We're both from the San Francisco Bay Area. Do with that what you will. And I'm more centrist. And we used to just get in arguments all the time. Not really arguments. He would get really upset because I would ask him a lot of questions about things he believed, and he wasn't really sure why he believed them. He would yell at me all the time and say we had different values. And one time we were on the phone talking about it, about various things, and he was trying to make me say that trans women are women. And I wouldn't. I would say trans women are trans women, and that's fine. And he yelled "F you" and hung up the phone in my face. Um, it's simple to say we are not dating anymore, and I learned a lot from that relationship. I'd never been yelled at like that before, and yeah, I just wanted to tell you, like, yeah, there are crazy people out here, and I dated one of them. Love you, Brad. Thanks.
Well, thank you for sharing and for adding more evidence to my case as why you should not give woke men a chance. That's not to say you can't date a Democratic man or a liberal man or a progressive man, but particularly the woke mindset, don't go near it with a 10-foot pole. It's not going to work out. They're going to be closed-minded. They're going to be insanely hostile and aggressive towards you. And it sounds like this person was. That's my real objection here, is not this dude's beliefs, although I roll my eyes at the, you have to say trans women are women, not just that they're trans women. No. Cope. I wouldn't say that. And this guy seems close-minded and seems like his worldview is pretty bizarre. But even then, having strange beliefs doesn't make you a bad person. Having wrong opinions doesn't make you a bad person. What makes him a bad person is the way he treated you. And it's just not okay to treat the people that you love or care about like that. That's not just a red flag. It's like an entire bouquet of red flags whenever a man treats a woman like that, or a woman treats a man like that, or vice versa, or a man treats a man like that, a woman treats a man, a non-binary treats a non-binary like that, any kind of thing in a relationship where you are screaming and cussing at and belittling the person that you are supposed to care about all just because they have a different perspective than you on something is not a sign of a healthy relationship or of a person with the basic communication and respect levels required to build a healthy relationship. So, honestly, it sounds like you dodged a bullet. I do have to agree with one thing that this guy said when he said that you guys have different values. Yes, correct. Because it sounds like you have sane person values and he has crazy person values. So it was never going to work out if you ask me. And again, guys, ladies, they, thems, don't waste your time with woke men. Moral of the story. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Up next, we've got a really interesting question from somebody about the increasing mistrust they're facing in the medical field. Let's take a listen.
Hi, Brad. My name is Mohammed. Big fan of your show. So, I had a question for you. I currently work as an EMT and I'm also a paramedic student. Something I've been noticing a lot lately is there's huge amount of mistrust around healthcare and treatment we provide, especially due to the fact that there has been a lot of radical positions taken by medical organizations and hospitals. So my question for you is, do you think there is anything we can do to be able to regain the public's trust more due to the fact that it is very hard to do the job right now, especially with lots of mistrust and misinformation going around? Thanks.
Well, of course, and thank you for sending in your message and for the important work that you do. You know, this one is a little bit near and dear to my heart because listeners who have listened for a long time will know my partner is a doctor. He's a pediatrician. And I know first and foremost, like I know personally that so many people working in the medical field are brilliant, are hardworking. They truly care about their patients and they want to do what's best. But at the same time, there is this increasing distrust of the experts and of doctors and the like. And how do you square that circle? How do you kind of live with those two realities at the same time and navigate them is an interesting question. The reason this has happened is to me pretty obvious that during the pandemic and really just over the last decade, there has been a massive politicization and of science and of medicine at pretty high institutional levels. So you have the Dr. Fauci's of the world going and really politicizing science during the pandemic. And then you have the major medical associations like the AMA and the APA and all these big, the experts that took positions that are obviously extreme and untrue and unscientific, like falsely claiming. And then, we learn this is totally not true from experts in other countries and in our own country that do actual data analysis. But when they all said that gender affirming care for minors is safe and effective and lots of research supports it, we all know that's not true now. And so they have this big egg on their face, this big stain. And same with a lot of the COVID stuff, a lot of the pandemic stuff. They did not exercise humility in the scope of their knowledge and what they could state. They got way ahead over their skis, and a lot of people lost trust. And I don't really know how to fix this mismatch where people distrust the system, but that's not really a good reason to distrust any individual working in it. And as to your question, how can you, as an individual provider, establish trust when people distrust the system? I think all you can do, there's really nothing you can do to separate yourself at first. You have to build relationships with people. So I know when I went to my doctor in Grand Rapids, I was immediately distrustful of the kind of healthcare system he was working in because this was 2022 and they had the water fountains closed because of COVID, which, if you know anything about the basic science of COVID, isn't a thing. Me drinking at a water fountain with no human being in 50 feet of me is not going to give me COVID. So I was immediately distrustful of just the whole organization. I'm like, are they really scientific here? What's going on here? The more I learned, though, my individual doctor has no say over those company-wide policies. And when I brought it up to him, he admitted, yeah, it's silly, it's ridiculous. And I was able to kind of learn to trust him because he made it clear to me that as an individual, he was not in this kind of hive mind pseudoscientific space, even if some of maybe the institution's policies or leaders are in that space. So all you can really try to do is try to establish yourself as an individual and make it clear where you're coming from with patients or with people you're working with. And hopefully they can see past their kind of broader distrust to trust you as an individual. But if they can't, all you can do is your best, really. And beyond that, to some degree, it's out of your control. And big picture reforms will have to happen to restore trust and credibility. What do you guys think, especially if you're somebody who's like distrustful of modern medicine or of medical establishment now? What would have to happen to earn back your trust? I'm very curious. Let me know in the comments. Up next, we're going to hear a really disturbing story about somebody whose gay dads cut him off because he didn't agree with extreme gender activism. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Brad. My name's Will. I just wanted to get your opinion on a situation, or I don't know what you call it, a family drama. I'm straight, but I have two dads. They adopted me when I was 3 months old. I couldn't have asked for a better childhood. But recently, one of my dads has taken up the trans cause, and I believe that a woman can't become a man, and a man can't become a woman. Like, and if you want me to call you that, I will, out of politeness, but don't ask me to believe that you are something you're not. And one of my dads says that he believes that, but the other one has went the completely other way. And last year at Christmas, I couldn't hold in my opinions any longer, and I said it. And my dad literally called me a bigot, hateful, and said that he didn't want to have anything to do with his granddaughters anymore. And I don't know if I should reach out to them or what. I don't know. It's just been a rough situation, suddenly not having my parents. It's just wanted to get what you thought of it and what you think I should do. Should I reach out to them? Should I just keep waiting for them to reach out to me? Thank you.
This story really upset me because, like, what do you mean? I mean, on one hand, it sounds great that these gay dads adopted you, gave you a great childhood, great life, and I think that's awesome. And you should be appreciative of that, of course. But then what happened to unconditional love, right? Like, you're going to cut your kid off because they have one political opinion you don't fully agree with that you think is so problematic, even though like most people low-key think it's true. It's just very close-minded. It's very ignorant. It's very futile. Like, you're going to destroy your whole family over a difference in opinion like this. It just comes off as totally unreasonable and irrational and unhinged and very dark. And then especially because you have kids and grandkids, it's like, imagine cutting your grandkids out of your life because you have a political disagreement with your son. This is like toddler behavior. This is not the behavior of an emotionally adjusted, functioning adult. I mean, your dad, one of the dads, but also the other one who's enabling this and allowing it, even if he doesn't agree, really, really losing my respect for doing this. I think it's totally unacceptable. Maybe you could have articulated your opinion in a more polite or less, I don't know, confrontational way. I wasn't there. I don't know how it went down. Maybe you did just fine and your dad just crashed out for no reason. I really don't know. Maybe you could have read the tea leaves and realized that I just shouldn't say anything at all. But honestly, you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to censor yourself around your loved ones completely and not say something that's a totally mainstream opinion, by the way, just because it might upset them and they might crash out on you and cut off their grandkids. Like, wow is all I have to say. In terms of what you should do, I mean, to some extent, you didn't create this problem. Your dad did, and it's on him. At the same time, though, I'm a big believer in family, and I really don't think that life is long enough to hold grudges or that so many people don't have relationships or have relationships that are irreparably harmed or broken with their family members, that I really would always try to encourage people to make it work when they can. So ideally, I mean, your dad should reach out to you, should apologize to you, should do all this, but that just might not be realistic. And I don't think you should wait your whole life just hoping that'll happen someday. So I would recommend that you reach out to your dads, you try to talk to them in person, you try to explain that you love them, that you have a different perspective, but that you value them and you want to keep your family connected, and you ask that you can just hold space for respectful difference of opinion, and that it would mean a lot to you to have them in your life and have them in your kids' life. And if you approach them with that and get rejected, then they're the problem officially 1000%. And it will suck, it'll be tough, but you can sleep easy at night knowing you did everything you can and you're not the problem. So that is what I would do if I was you. But honestly, like, my heart goes out to you, dude. What a terrible situation. Really sad stuff. And I'm really, really, really disappointed by your dads in this situation. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Remember, the link is in the description to send in a voicemail if you want to tell me your woke horror story about something going on in your life, or just ask me questions. The link to send one of those in is in the description. Up next, we're going to hear from somebody who faced some pretty disturbing anti-Jewish discrimination at their work. Let's take a listen.
Hey Brad, my name is Lila. I'm a loyal listener, lover, and subscriber to the podcast. A little bit of backstory is I'm very openly Jewish. I'm ethnically Jewish. I'm also religiously Jewish, and my name is also in Hebrew. This is very important because I'm really not shy about it, like I said. But at work, I've been facing, I don't know if you would call it discrimination, but a little bit of nastiness. I have a coworker that has been, searching for me throughout the building anytime I'm there. And he always feels the need to say something nasty to me about Israel or what's going on over there in the Middle East. He's called me a disgusting and sick, vile, nasty, self-hating Jew because I didn't put down Alligator Alcatraz as a concentration camp. And even when I was in the middle of training someone one day, he, went across the building to come and look for me, just to let me know that Greta Thunberg, however you say her name, that she was apparently kidnapped by Israel and this, that, and the third. And so, I would report it, but part of me is afraid of, ruining the dynamic or, not keeping the peace within the building. So I've been a little bit hesitant to report it. There's been multiple instances of him saying some really nasty things regarding me being Jewish. But you give me your take on this. What do you think I should do? Some advice.
Yes, I would call that discrimination, because it is discrimination against you for being Jewish, which is very immoral and is definitely illegal, especially in the workplace. Like, that's not okay. And there's a bizarre connection here, because all you mentioned in your voicemail, which is all I have to go off of, is you being Jewish and openly Jewish. You did not suggest that you are also, like, openly a massive Israel supporter, Israel fan, that you're just like wearing IDF merch to work or anything like that. So to just see a Jewish person and start harassing them about the government of Israel's actions in Gaza is not fair. Like, just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you necessarily support that or agree with that. And you are just stereotyping people and making unjustified assumptions about them on the basis of their race/ethnicity, which I thought that was bad. And it really does sound from your description like this person is harassing you at work. Like, not just a couple snide comments that you can just kind of brush off and move on with your day. It really sounds like this person is harassing you and disrupting the workplace. I mean, the alligator Alcatraz thing is absurd. I mean, we can talk about what the conditions are like there, whether it's appropriate. It's not a concentration camp. And if anything is actually offensive to the Jewish people, It is minimizing the horrors of the Holocaust by so constantly and so frivolously invoking it just to bash Trump, if you ask me. So that's absurd. The thing about Greta made me laugh because the idea of, listen, set aside your views on the actual conflict. Greta was not kidnapped. She tried to sail on a flotilla into the Gaza Strip during the war, and Israel turned her around and sent her home. This is not kidnapping. She did an attention stunt. She knew exactly what would happen. It happened, and then she got to play the victim and make international news, which is all she ever wanted in the first place. So poor Greta, spare me on that. And again, what does that have to do with you? He's just racially profiling you or religiously profiling you and saying, they're Jews and they did this and you're a Jew, so you're bad too and you're responsible for it. What? That's not how that works. And the fact that this dude interrupted you training another employee, I mean, all of this is incredibly unprofessional to be interjecting politics and really aggressive, nasty political discourse into the workplace. And I understand your impulse. Well, I don't want to make a scene. I don't want to report him. I don't want to disrupt the peace. I don't want to ruin the dynamic. But dude, you're not the one doing that. He is. He disrupted the peace. He ruined the dynamic by doing all this crazy stuff. You can't just let him get away with it because you want to keep a peace that no longer exists because of what he's doing. So my take on this is pretty clear. Report his ass to HR, to your boss, to everyone. Document this stuff. Document it, document it, document it, because you could potentially have a lawsuit if your employer does not address this. So document as much of it as you can, make all the appropriate complaints, and don't stand for this, because you being Jewish is not something that you should be mistreated for or harassed for in the workplace. No matter what is happening somewhere else in the world because of people who share your faith, that is not okay. So I'm really sorry you had that experience, but stay strong and hopefully you can stand up to this nasty piece of work at your place of work. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Please do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet and hit that like button while you're at it. And guys, that'll be it for today's episode of the Bread vs. Everyone podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please remember, you can send in your voicemails to be listened to and responded to in a future episode at the link in the description. And with that, guys, have a great weekend and we'll talk again real soon.